You thought your divorce was a shit show? Try being a king who wants to divorce his wife of 18 years and doesn't even want to tell her he's doing it. She finds out from a trusted advisor, hey, I hear you guys are getting a divorce. And she's like, the fuck we are. This is the drama that happened when Henry VIII tried to divorce his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. And mind you, this is a long story, so this could possibly be 2 videos, but I'll talk really fast. It is spring of 1527. Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon have been married for 18 years at this point. Now, I have to give you a little bit of a backstory or none of this will make sense, so stick with me. 25 years earlier, Catherine of Aragon had been married to Arthur Tudor, who's Henry's older brother. There was an older brother who was originally supposed to be king. She was the Princess of Spain. Their parents matched them together. They were in alliance. And then Arthur dies very shortly after they are married, leaving her a 15-year-old widow. Now, she swears the marriage was never consummated. So King Henry VII, not wanting to give back the dowry and not wanting to risk his alliance with Spain, he says, well, you know what? Why doesn't she marry my second son, Henry, who's now in line to take the throne? And her parents are like, yep, bingo, we love this idea. That way the alliance can stay pure and our beautiful daughter will one day be the Queen of England. The problem is that Henry is only like 10 years old at the time. So we got to wait a while before he's of age of consent. But there's another problem. You see, all of the people in this situation, they're all Catholics. And in the Bible, Leviticus specifically, it says that God frowns on you taking your brother's sloppy seconds. So there's like some religious stuff we got to work out. So both sets of parents are like, hey, you know what? Let's go to the Pope and talk to the Pope. So they go to the Pope and they're like, hey, listen, we get it. The Bible says that you shouldn't marry or be with your brother's wife, whatever it says. And they said, we get that this is an unusual request and it's weird and it's a little bit gross, but can you please give us permission? And the Pope says, you're right. It's weird and it's a little bit gross, but yes, I give my permission. They get a papal dispensation. They all sign this fancy document that says these two can be married and it is valid and pure under God's eye. Now, fast forward back to May of 1527. Henry's like, yeah, I'm done here. And there could be a number of reasons why he's starting to feel this way, right? They definitely have an age difference, so it's impacting them. They're growing apart. They don't have the same common interests anymore. They're not having sex anymore. And they don't have a male heir. Now, mind you, they have a perfectly suitable daughter, Princess Mary, who is capable of being the heir to the throne, but she's a girl. And just like 21st century America, we're not allowed to have anything fucking nice. It's always got to be some bullshit male. So Henry's like, no, I need a male heir. And my wife is no longer childbearing. She cannot physically give me a male heir. But Henry has a huge uphill battle. First, they're all Catholic, and you don't get divorced when you're Catholic, or at least you used to not be able to. Second, Queen Catherine is terribly popular, very popular, and he's going to look like a grade A asshole if he asks her for a divorce. And the last thing he wants is to look bad. Also, she's capable of raising an army because she proved that in another video that I talked about. So he knows that she has the capability to fight back. She's also very well connected. Her nephew is the Holy Roman Emperor. So in the event that he pisses off any country in Europe, there could be a war. And 4, Catherine believes this marriage is valid in the eyes of God. Like it would be a sin for her to agree to divorce. She'd be going against God's will. But Henry decides he's going to take the religious route. I'm not quite sure why he chooses this, but this is what he chooses to do. He secretly convenes an ecclesiastical court. He has all of his archbishops, his bishops, all of the canon lawyers. He gets them all together. He gets in the room and he's like, I am guilty of sin. You must judge me guilty. I married my brother's wife, and according to the Bible, I never should have done it. And this marriage is impure, and you should rule against me. And they said, well, you know what? This is a lot. And so maybe you should go to Rome with that one. Like, they refuse to judge in his favor. Partially because there are bishops in the room that are old enough to remember, wait, 25 years ago, the Pope said this was okay. So now you're saying that it's not okay? Like, you're going against the Pope? That's not very Catholic of you. So they're like, yeah, we're going to kick this can. You got to go talk to the current Pope about this because this is beyond our purview. Now, what he's trying desperately not to admit or let anybody find out is that for the past 15 months, he has been secretly, not so secretly, courting Anne Boleyn. And Anne Boleyn has been holding out. Regardless of what you've heard about her, she was not putting out. She was basically like, baby, put a ring on it or you're not coming in the back door or the front door or the side door. Maybe you can play with my boobies a little bit, but we're not doing the deed until you divorce your wife. So Henry's like, Jesus Christ, I got to get out of this marriage. He's trying to convince people that he will suffer eternal damnation if this marriage isn't annulled. Not divorced, annulled. He wants to pretend like it never ever happened. And Catherine, who for 18 years has been loyal and committed and honest and dedicated, she's given him all of her time, her energy, her patience, her uterus. Like, she's like, you want me to pretend that all of this has never fucking happened? You're off your goddamn rocker. So they both feel like they have a case before the Pope. She's like, yeah, let's go to the Pope because she feels the Pope's going to side with her because her marriage is true and valid. He thinks the Pope will realize that, oh, now that we think about it, the last Pope made a mistake. Leviticus says this is a no-no. The Pope will rule in his favor. So the two of them are relying on the Pope. Meanwhile, over there at the Vatican, Pope Clement is like, what the fuck's this got to do with me? Like, why are you coming to me? No. La, 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 la. I want no part of this. So it drags on for a really long time because the Pope is feckless as shit and he doesn't want to get involved. Now, there's a couple of things that work against Henry here. So first, Roma sect. The Pope has to flee the Vatican and he ends up seeking somewhat safety. He ends up being caught, if you will, in Spanish-held territory. And so the Spanish sort of have him as an invited guest. Let's just put it that way. And Charles V is like, the Pope is my captive. So Charles V goes to the Pope and says, under no fucking circumstances are you going to let this divorce go through? And the Pope's like, oh no, I wasn't intending to. Meanwhile, Henry, the King of England, is coming at the Pope. And Henry's like, you got to help me here. And the Pope's like, sure. I'll get right on that. So the Pope is really caught in the middle. And by the way, he wants nothing to do with this. He's like, I don't give a fuck what you two do in your marriage. Why is this coming my way? But we have another problem. You see, remember that papal dispensation that they did 25 years ago, where a pope at the time, Pope Julius, said, it is okay, despite what Leviticus says, it is okay for these two people to be married. Henry is now saying, that pope was wrong. Leviticus clearly says that you can't do sloppy seconds with a family member or you're committing sin. But then Henry suddenly realizes, oh, fuck, because he had a 3-year affair with Anne Boleyn's sister. So if he was committing a sin by marrying his brother's former partner, then Anne Boleyn will be committing the exact same sin by marrying her sister's former lover. Oh, so Henry has to go down two paths. He has to convince the Pope that the current union he is in is unlawful, invalid in the eyes of God. But can I please have permission? Can I please have your papal dispensation to be involved in another marriage under those exact same fucking circumstances? This is a problem, but I'm running out of time, so you got to come back for a second video. I'm so sorry.